Hey there, handy friends. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. Today I'm going to share with you how to make RoseHip seed oil. This is my little area in our basement where I use to make tea and herbalism infused oils, different things like that. Teach myself things. My next tackle is going to be some homemade essential oils, so have to see how that goes. I wanted to show you these rose hips. Let me get up close here so I could see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got these large rose hips here that I dried, and I also have these small ones that I picked just the other day. So I picked these about 3 or 4 days ago. They're starting to dry on the on the stem. That's fine. I'm gonna show you how I process these, and then how to make a rosehip seed oil. And also I'm using my pestle and mortar, and then here's the larger rose hips. So sometimes people cut them in half. I didn't have to do that. I put them right on my drying rack, and I have a dehumidifier, and it's in my basement. It's almost winter. Our heater's running, so it's really dry. But I'm not going to be using these large ones to make it. I'm going to actually be using these small rose hips that I harvested. And like I said, it was about 3 or 4 days ago. Let me bring you over here. Bring you over here a little bit. Alright. I'm hoping you can see that well. But so I'm going to give you the recipe. These are the rose hips that I harvested. I just have this box top here that I've kind of let them been drying, and I harvested them on a rainy day. So I let them dry off in this box with the dehumidifier going. And we're going to make rosehip seed oil today. It's going to be... Okay. How are we going to process these rose hips? So these are the smaller rose hips that I found, and I found them wild. When you're harvesting rose hips, you want to leave 90% on the bush for the animals. What's going to happen is deer are going to eat these rose hips and get the vitamin C out of them, as well as birds. And then birds process the seeds best. So the best way for the rose hips to expand is to go through the bird's intestines, and when it poops it out, amazingly, that processes the rosehip seeds better. So basically that's how a new plant starts. Okay, so here I have some more dried rosehips. I'm also going to show you with some more that didn't dry. They're more fresh. So this part here, right here on the end, it's dirty. Right there, it's like a little nub. See that? I don't know. When you pull enough of these off, it just becomes like particly and dirty. And I don't want that in my oil that I'm making. I want to make some pure oil. So my son, he has acne. I'm going to make some rosehip oil for that. And I'm also making gardener salve. So I'm going to plan on doing a video on the gardener salve as well. I'm going to make my own rosehip oil, and I'm also going to infuse my own ginger oil for this gardener salve that I'm making. It's the first time I've ever made this gardening salve. Anyway, back to the rose hips. So I'm going to discard these little pieces that I have. Let's see if I can get you. They're just like little scabs. It's just like squash or something, you know, on the end where I had the bloom. Yep, so we're going to get rid of those. And then I actually keep them because, let me take you over here. It's hard for me to pay attention all the time. I've got a scraps container that I use, and I put my scraps in there, and I'm going to make some fire starters with some pine pitch. And I plan on doing a video about pine, a couple of videos about pine pitch. I love pine. Anyway, back to the rose hips. How to identify? They've got these little thorns right here. You can pluck it off right at the end there. I have nails, So that's how I do it. And then if I know I gotta harvest rose hips, I don't clip my nails until I'm done. And my fingers get sore doing these things. So there's the end that we're discarding. And then here we've got the rose hip. Let me show you the seeds. Let me break this open for you and just show you what's on the inside there. See those seeds? And so I've never tried to plant these. These are wild rose hips, but I'm gonna give it a shot with these seeds. I've been saving some of these seeds out of here. I won't throw these away. I try not to waste anything. So I'll be saving these seeds, and I'm gonna put them in a little pot and see if I can get any sprouts off of these. But like I said, I read that the best way to get wild rose hips spread around is to let the birds eat them. And so when I bring rose hips home, and then sometimes I have some that like are on the stem that are rotten that I don't want to use for myself, and I make sure I put them out in my yard, and the birds and the squirrels love them, and I'm hoping the birds are going to help spread them around in my area. So I'm going to save these seeds. Put these right over here. I'm experimenting. A lot of this stuff is like almost uncharted territory, or it's hard to find information that's solid. You don't want to just trust everything you read online or see online. You need to have verified. So the best way for me to verify certain things is experimenting. Alright. Take the rose hip, pop it off, get the discard off of there. Boom. There you have it. Oops. There we go. See that? See my dry skin? I need that gardener's salve. So, there's a small rose hip. These are more ripe. See, they're full. They're full and red. They're harder to process. They make a mess. Gently take it off the end. A lot of time the hair that comes out will come right out with it, but the seeds have itching hair on them. That's what they make itching powder out of, is the rosehip seeds hair. So when you're making tea or whatever, you gotta strain it really good, because you don't want to be itching yourself inside. There's the nub. Can you see that? Oh, there we go. Boom. Alright. I'm not very tech savvy, excuse me. Alright, pull the nub off. See how the berry, it like already wanted to crush? Oops. But anyway, there's one. Now, there's a little scar there, a little oxidation. That's fine. They're gonna get that. Let me show you. Let me see if I can find one. Alright, right here. See that whiteness on there? It's natural. It's not like fungus or anything. It's like an oxidation. But I choose not to use that. You want to use the best of the best. So like these ones with oxidation, they're fine. Birds will still eat them. So I put these in the yard. Alright, back to these. Let's see if I can get a hair to come out of there. Can you see that? Tiny little hairs coming off. There. Did you see that come out of there? Let me see if I can get another one. See that hair? Yeah, there you go. Now you see it. Focus. That hair. There's more in there in that one that I have, but see, if you pull slow enough, look at that. And if you pull slow enough and they're ripe enough. See that hair? Isn't that amazing? But you don't have to get the hair out every time. That's fine too. Anyway, so I need 2 cups of these. This is going to take, I'm going to be here a while. Let me get back to you when I get my 2 cups. And we'll pestle and mortar these rose hips and get some rose hip seed oil going on. Alright, welcome back. So I'm less concerned about you seeing my face and more concerned about you seeing the items that I have here. I wanted to go through and show you a little bit about these rose hips before I get started on crushing them in the pestle and mortar, because I want to make sure that you know kind of what's okay and maybe what's not. And I plan on doing a video on harvesting and breaking down rose hips and processing them and such as well, just to kind of help out. Alright, so here I just wanted to show you the different sizes. Like, these are all the same, they're all from a dogwood rose. But see how much bigger and plump these are versus, for say, these? So that's the difference there. And then also I wanted to show you, this is a really good example of the ends. So you can kind of see on the ends, that's the dirtiness I'm talking about there. That's what you're breaking off of that end. See how big those are on this plant? And it's basically just the head of the flower folded over. So these are pretty big as well. The bigger the better. And so if they're in the sunlight, they're going to be bright red like this. And right there, you can kind of see there how it's got that leafy tip on there. Those get really dirty and it gets really resiny. And then here, these have like oxidation. See that white? That's natural. It's natural oxidation on the rose hip. It's more so on one side, so it's usually found on the side that's not facing the sun. And it's still fine to use. They're not as great, but it's natural. It's going to happen after time. It's just oxidation on that rose hip. I'll go more into the specifics in another video, but I just wanted to kind of show you these different varieties. Ooh, got poked. Alright, I'm going to move these out of the way. So, I have a 3-quart slow cooker that I use for this stuff, and it's really handy. It was $15. I got it on sale. It's the perfect size that I need. And then here in my reused pickle jar, I have 2 cups of processed rose hips that I broken down, and I was also breaking some down for tea, and if I had extra seeds that were coming out of there, I just put them in this jar, because the whole point of this is going to be rose hip seed oil. And in the beginning of the video, I forgot to tell you that it's rose hip seed oil, so I'm trying to get the medicinal properties out of the seeds more so than anything. More so than the skin. And then also, like, even if you get the hair out when you pinch it, there's still hair in there, so you're going to want to like double or triple strain those. And I'll go into that later, but we don't want that itching hair in our oil. Also, I'm not very tech savvy. Like I said, I had it on 1.1 and I didn't really know in the beginning of the video. So now I'm on 3.4, which I guess is full screen, so sorry about that. Back with the program. Alright, for now I just have this small pestle and mortar. My mother gave this to me. I'm lucky to have it. I hope to get a bigger one soon as I get further off into my herbalism. So here we're going to just dump a little bit in there, like halfway full. Oops. Halfway full, because we need room to work. So I'm going to mash them down really good. And what I'm trying to do is release the medicinal properties within the seeds. So it's going to be a lot of mashing, a lot of work. It's going to take me a while. I'm not going to bore you the entire time. But I'm going to mash this down really good. And then I've got a rubber spatula. I'm going to scrape all these out of here. And I'm going to get my 2 cups. My 2 cups of rose hips and rose hip seed oil into my slow cooker here. See, I just filled it up halfway and I barely have enough room to work in that there. There we go. Starting to mash them up really good. Just trying to kind of get into those seeds. And it's not easy, they're hard. So I didn't have, these aren't dried rose hips, these are fresh. Wanted to use fresh to get all the medicinal properties out, and I'm using this in the perfect time of the year. And so you can use dried, and you can order them from online if that's what you need to do. My goal right now is to collect as many ethically as I can, and so that I can use them throughout the year. So we've been traveling quite a lot, so that we are getting the rose hips from all different places. That way we're not stealing from nature and leaving a lot behind for nature as we do it. Alright, I'm getting this nice and ground. We're almost there, just trying to keep you with me until I can show you to the next step. So obviously the more you ground the skin, the closer you are to the seeds, and you just want to keep on grounding. About got it to the consistency I need it. And I was showing my husband these earlier, and he said it smells kind of like cranberry. And so these are not related to a cranberry, I don't think, but they're definitely related to the apple. And they smell kind of like a crab apple cranberry mix, and they're actually really refreshing in all ways. Just to smell, even just to reach your hand in and touch. They're just, I'm really intrigued with these rose hips. Alright, so I got this ground down pretty well. Set that there, and like I said, I've got my rubber spatula. And I'm going to go ahead and get these into my slow cooker. And the next thing we're going to do is cover it with oil. So I'll check back with you after I pestle and mortar all these. Okay, so the oil has been in the slow cooker for 9 hours, and I did take the temperature on the oil. It did stay on warm at 100, it stayed at 100 degrees, so it was perfect. And then I removed from the slow cooker and let settle in a dark place, which is where we're at now, my basement. And I'm getting ready to strain the oil. You can use a couple layers of cheesecloth if you want. Even though I have cheesecloth on hand, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use this muslin material because it's has a little bit more of a filter properties to it. So it's an all natural, unbleached material, and it's widely used in the medicinal field. And so the muslin, it looks just like this. And it's thicker than cheesecloth, but still can strain. So I'm going to take my sieve and I'm going to use this to strain the rose hips. And this is the cloth that I'm going to use next time for my rose hips, so the oil isn't going to wash out. Once you use it for this, then that's the end. You can either get rid of it, or I like to reuse, so I will be reusing this cloth again. So I ended up adding a little bit more of this almond oil in the back here. I wanted my rose hips to be covered when I started it on warm so that they wouldn't run dry. Okay, I've got my muslin material in here, and I've got my slow cooker over here that has settled. So I took it off before I went to bed, and they settled overnight. And now I am going to get this oil into this sieve and strain it. I also wanted to say that I wish I had a deeper bowl, so I'm going to be keeping my eye open for that. This bowl is the deepest bowl that we have, and it's not quite deep enough for what I'm doing. So maybe something a little more oblong. Everything else that we have is stainless steel, and with this process, besides my sieve, I'm trying to stay away from metal. I just prefer glass or porcelain. So I'm using my spatula and I'm getting all of the seeds and the rest of the oil out. I see I just flung one into the bowl. So another reason why I chose this fabric is because the hair in the rose hips is very itchy, and when you use a cheesecloth, a lot of times you should strain it, double strain it, triple strain it to make sure you get all these little hairs out, because they are itching hair, and the last thing you want to do is we're making salve for someone's face or hands that already itch, and then you're giving them itchy hair, like itching powder in with it. So you don't want to do that. Alright, falling off here. Good. So as the oil gets deeper, I need to kind of hold this up. And then the nice thing about this cloth is that I can kind of wring it out. So I'm going to purchase a jelly strainer. That's ultimately what I need, which is just like a basket holder for a strainer. But I'm newer to this, and I'm lucky for the things that I have. So for now, this is what I'm going to use. I will zoom in here in a few minutes so that you can see what the oil looks like. And with this in the filter, it's really quite clear. If I do have any sediments at the bottom, which it doesn't look like I'm going to, but it's a possibility, I have non-bleached coffee filters available. They do drain a lot slower, so I like to use the cheesecloth or the muslin by choice first. So let me get a little bit more, wait a little bit, and then we'll check back on this. I rigged this up so that my sieve would be elevated above my bowl, because again, I don't have a deep enough bowl yet. This has been sitting for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, until it stopped dripping. And even when I lifted it like this, it still didn't drip. So most of my oil has made its way into the pan. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this by the edge. Try to strain that out of there. And then I'm going to give it, I'm going to need some more to put this. Go ahead and put this in my already dirty crock pot. So now I'm trying to squeeze the oil from the cloth. And so making sure to squeeze downward. Just kind of checking on the rosehip hair. Seems to be all right. Got most of the oil out of there as it dripped. So just a little bit more coming off from my hands. And it looks like that's about all we're going to get. So I'm going to empty these rose hips out and try to wash my cloth out a little bit and reuse it for next time. And then I've got my oil here, and it looks really clear. You can see There's no residue in it, and it looks really nice. I'm going to rub this onto my hands. Can't beat it. Okay. So, I'm not worried about straining this again. It looks really clean. I'm going to add 2 drops of my vitamin E oil. I choose Jason brand for my vitamin E oil. And it has 45,000 IUs, which is a really nice rating for its price. Make sure. And so I just need 2 or 3 drops in here. A little goes a long way. And there's 3 drops. And the vitamin E oil is going to help keep my oil preserved. Oh yeah, that's nice. Feels good. My hand's pretty dry. Okay, and now the next thing we want to do is get this into a dark bottle and label and date it, seal it, and store it in a dark place for up to a year. So I'm gonna put it in. I don't have a dark bottle. Unfortunately, I don't have any of these amber colored bottles. As you know, it's been really short-handed on ball jars this year. So I'm going to put it in something that's probably something that's clear, like this. And then I'm going to cover it with a dark cloth or dark paper so nothing gets in there. Wrap it on up. And I could also put it down in a cabinet or something like that to keep it in a dark, dry, cool place. So here's the rosehip oil. And I'm going to go ahead and get this into my bottle. If you stuck with me throughout this entire video, I know it was a long one. Thanks for joining me. If you like what you see, please give me a thumbs up. There will be more videos like this to come. Please subscribe. And stay handy, friends.